The smell of freshly cut grass and the quiet rustling of leaves filled Tasha Bennett's lungs as she stood in front of her home. She had worked tirelessly for years to build her dream house, nestled on the edge of a wooded area she had inherited from her late father. The property, with its towering oaks and lush green land, had been in her family for generations. It was more than just a house. It was a legacy, a piece of history she vowed to protect. But today, the quiet of the woods was shattered by the unmistakable hum of construction machinery. Tasha's heart skipped a beat as she saw the massive bulldozers and cranes moving swiftly onto her land. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Developers, they had shown up out of nowhere, bringing their machines and their workers, trampling over the boundaries of her property like it didn't matter. Her family's land, land she had fought for, land she had nurtured, was being invaded. What the hell is going on here? Tasha muttered under her breath as she hurried toward the driveway. The site supervisor, a middle-aged white man with a clipboard, looked up as she approached. "Excuse me." Tasha's voice rang out with authority as she approached the supervisor, but her nerves were taut with fury. "What the hell do you think you're doing on my property?" The supervisor glanced at her, then back at the machines as they rumbled in the background. "Oh, sorry, ma'am," he said with a condescending smirk, as if her presence didn't matter. "We've got approval to start clearing for development here. You must have missed the notice. It's part of the city's plan to expand the commercial district. This land is being zoned for new construction." Tasha's heart raced. She had received no such notice. Not a single email, not a letter, not a phone call. Her pulse quickened as the frustration burned through her chest. "This is my land," she said, her voice calm but thick with tension. "I own it, and you're trespassing." The supervisor's smile faded slightly, but his tone remained patronizing. "Ma'am, we've got all the proper permits from the city. Your land is part of a larger zoning effort. You're going to need to clear out. These new developments are happening whether you like it or not." Tasha's head spun. This couldn't be happening. Her land, the one she had worked so hard to preserve, was being torn away from her without her knowledge or consent. Her hands clenched into fists as the realization hit her like a gut punch. "They won't be building anything on this land," she said firmly, trying to keep her voice steady despite the anger bubbling inside. "I'll have it stopped, right now." The supervisor raised an eyebrow. "You can try, ma'am, but we've already got the permits. The city's behind this, so unless you have a lawyer or something, there's nothing you can do." Tasha turned on her heel, fury rising within her. She had fought to keep this property for years, and she wasn't going to let some developer with a clipboard take it from her now. She had options, and this wasn't over. That evening, after several phone calls and hours of pacing, Tasha sat at her kitchen table with a stack of legal papers and her laptop open. She had been digging into the zoning laws, researching everything she could about the property and its status with the city. But one thing stuck out: the zoning changes weren't official, and the permits didn't seem entirely legal. The city had gone ahead with them without the proper notice to her. This wasn't just negligence. This was a land grab. She picked up the phone and dialed a number she knew would make a difference. The next morning, Tasha stood at the front door of her property, arms crossed, as a federal officer from the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, arrived. Tasha had pulled in all the strings she could, and her lawyer had helped her get in touch with the right people. This wasn't just about land use. This was about environmental protection, and the developers were violating it. The officer, a tall woman with short-cropped hair and a determined look in her eyes, stepped out of her car and flashed her badge. "Ms. Bennett?" she asked. "That's me," Tasha replied, shaking the officer's hand firmly. "Thank you for coming." The EPA agent, Samantha Harris, nodded. "I was told this was a matter involving illegal land development and potential environmental hazards. Can you explain what's happening here?" Tasha led her up the driveway, showing her the massive machines that were beginning to flatten the earth. "They're tearing up my property without my permission. They claim the city approved it, but when I checked, there were no official notices sent to me. They're destroying not just my home, but the local ecosystem." This land has rare plant species, protected by law. They're violating several environmental protections, and I need you to help me stop them." Samantha nodded, her eyes scanning the area. "Let me see the permits they're working with." As they walked toward the construction site, Tasha explained everything she had uncovered. How the developers had bypassed legal requirements and failed to give proper notice to the community or owners. Samantha listened intently, her face hardening as she took in the scope of the situation. "This is illegal. I'm getting a team here immediately," Samantha said, already pulling out her phone. "You've got protected environmental zones here. They've broken federal laws by not consulting the appropriate environmental agencies before proceeding with this project." Tasha felt a rush of relief flood through her. They weren't getting away with it. It wasn't long before Samantha and her team had shut down the construction. They had brought in environmental experts who confirmed that the developers had indeed violated multiple laws. The EPA issued a temporary cease and desist order, halting the bulldozers and forcing the developers to return the land to its original state. But that wasn't the end of it. Tasha and her lawyer filed an official lawsuit against the developers and the city, demanding compensation for damages and legal fees. The lawsuit also included a demand for environmental restoration. Weeks later, in a public hearing, Tasha stood before the judge, her heart pounding with anticipation. The courtroom was filled with city officials, developers, and community members. Mr. Stevens, the lead developer, sat in the front row, his suit pressed and his face pinched with tension. "I'll be brief," Tasha said, her voice clear and unwavering. "This land is my family's heritage. It was stolen from us, and you can't just take it and destroy everything that makes it beautiful. You violated not just my rights, but federal laws protecting this land. You will be held accountable." The room was silent as the judge turned to the defense, who tried to downplay the situation. But the evidence was clear. The developers had tried to bypass regulations, and Tasha wasn't backing down. She had won this fight. In the end, the developers were forced to pay millions in fines. They were also ordered to restore the land and pay for the damage to the environment they had caused. But for Tasha, it wasn't just about the financial compensation. It was about standing her ground, fighting for what was hers, and ensuring that no one, no developer, no system, could take away what she had worked so hard to protect. Her victory didn't just make the news in her neighborhood. It spread far and wide as a testament to resilience and empowerment. Tasha had won, not just for her family, but for every homeowner and environmentalist fighting against corporate greed. Justice had been served. If you love this story, drop a comment, like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories.